Hiya Hinsters, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome too. Please do subscribe to my channel if you like my content and give this video a thumbs up. That would really help me as well. And this is going to be a very brief video on the very soon to come full moon in Cancer. Now, I did make a video on new moons and full moons in general, so you can check out that video if you like. I'll put it in the description for you. But I hope you're keeping well. The moon actually right now is in Taurus, and Taurus is the exaltation of the moon. And Cancer, which is the sign just two signs down, is the domicile sign of Cancer, of the moon, or it's the sign that the moon rules. And so this could well be a very sort of more good than bad full moon experience for most people. And I also want to say, by the way, that on the 13th of January, we do have Mercury stationing to go retrograde in Aquarius. So the full moon experience that we're having probably right now, or about to have on the official date of the full moon, which by the way is January 17th, 2022, it can also have something to do with Mercury going retrograde. And be careful then, especially if this full moon is in your 12th house, your first house, or your third house, or your seventh house as well. Be careful that you are not letting some revisiting of something trick you into going back to it, or a revisiting, returning of someone tricking you into going back to them, if that someone, that something, that some place, or that some situation is not for you, is not for your sort of higher being. This is Capricorn season right now. The sun is going through Capricorn still, and so it still is a season of illuminating sort of those wiser steps, those cautious steps, and actually trying to take this time to withdraw more into the self and explore more the shadow side, that very shadowy feminine side of Capricorn. And it's also the penultimate feminine season of the astrological year right now. So this is kind of the second last chance we have this year to do that shadow work before we go into Aquarius and then Pisces season, the last feminine sign, the last feminine season, which is really a sleep season. So anyway, all that said, yes, we have on January 15th the moon at 27 degrees of Cancer officially for the full moon, and it's, as I said, in a domicile. So this overall, I think, is going to be a good full moon. Even if it's like happening in your 12th house, let's say, it is a end of the day, at the end of the day, in the long run, kind of a good experience for you. And in many ways, a chapter closing, because that's often what full moons represent, chapters closing, especially again if it's in your 12th house. Now, I also wanted to talk very briefly about the moon having made a trine to Jupiter. That was one of the last major transits that the moon will have made before entering this sort of full moon position. And Jupiter rules trines. So that's really nice. And a trine is a very magical aspect. But we can be complacent or lazy when it comes to this aspect and the opportunity that the full moon represents for us. And I think what the moon is trying to translate from that, because the moon translates light, it brings the energy of that aspect into the next configuration, in this case, the full moon. And so I think what it's bringing to us is, for a lot of people, a letting go or a closing of a chapter so as to self-heal, so as to also just complete a certain cycle, cycle, close something out. It's a very Piscean thing. Or to learn in some way that letting go of someone, something, some situation is also a way of loving or caring for that person, that thing, that situation. Now, the sun being in Capricorn is being disposed by Saturn in Aquarius right now, which is going to be conjuncting that retrograding Mercury. So again, we really need to pay attention to Saturn and the kind of the seriousness that is connoted by this full moon, and kind of the wisdom that we can glean from the full moon experience, even if it's not the most comfortable for you right now. I think, again, in the long run, at the end of the day, this is going to be for your best interest, for your higher good. Now, let's go through the houses just very briefly, because I'm on a tight schedule today. But let me know in the comments which house you have this full moon in. So where do you have Cancer in your birth chart? I've got Cancer in my first house. I'm a Cancer rising. So let me know. And we're going to start actually with the first house. So this full moon is happening if you have Cancer in the first house. If you're a Cancer rising, it's happening in the area of you. Very personally, very individually, as a spirit, even in the sense of your body. For some people, this will be, or your health. And also this is about like your partners and others and rejuvenating relationships. I'm really getting that as well for a lot of you. And also this is big elation or relief relating to your relationship or your relationships. And it's also culmination. Of course, full moons are very often about culmination or a rejoice of you. So that's very exciting for you, my love, Cancer rising. Now, if you have this full moon in the second house, then this is like some huge investment that has been made, and you're sort of overjoyed. So it's kind of like you really put some big amount of something into something, and there's a sense, yes, of joy or a sense of comfort coming from that. Now, in the third house, this is where the moon has its joy. So if you have this full moon in your third house in Cancer, it's like a pinnacle in your relation to, in your connection with others, especially siblings or neighbors, people immediately around you. And also this is like just great joy in general in terms of how you relate to the world in that Cancerian way. Now, if you're having this full moon in the fourth house, this is the full moon happening in the house of spiritual rootedness, and the house of things like family, past, the home, the literal house. And so this could be like big feelings welling up at home. This could be subconscious feelings erupting as well, because this is a very deep subconscious house. The planets were said to sort of die here, or they were said to really be in the very center of the underworld, and they were said to be acting completely mysteriously or on their own, left to their own devices. And so there could be something very like subconscious, mysterious, sort of erupting at this time for you. And it has to do with like your spiritual rootedness. And this is also the house of comfort, the fourth house, the house of your spiritual comfort. Now, the fifth house, if you have this full moon in the fifth house, this is like blessed children, blessings for your children, big sort of good feelings as well about something creative, about a creative project that you release. That could be a big paper you publish, a book you put out there. It could be a business plan or something that gets launched, or pitch that goes really, really well. Presentation that finally is delivered, that kind of thing. And there's all these good Cancerian, moon in Cancer, sort of comfortable feelings. And also this can be like wild pleasure being fulfilled, because the fifth house is the house of pleasure for the self. So there could be a lot of self-care, self-pleasure taking place for you. Now, if you're having this full moon in the sixth house, this could be like some comfort or release relating to your health. There could also be you having to like serve your family or a familial cause or something more reciprocal. So there's servitude and reciprocity, but it could feel good in some sense as well, or feel there could be a sense of relief again in these areas of health, servitude. Now, if it's in the 7th house, this is the partner or partners of yourself, business partners, romantic partners, your spouse. And they are being rejuvenated, or they are having some kind of lunar culmination, Cancerian culmination. And there could be rejoice for the partner as well, you feeling good for your partners. Now, the 8th house, if you have this full moon in the 8th house, this is your partner inheriting something nice. It could also be debt released or something, yes, inherited that is generally benefic or in the long run is going to be supportive or fortunate. Now, if it's in the 9th house for you, this is big realizations about things like faith, especially faith in the family, or a big optimism, or a higher understanding about things like reciprocity and symbiotic relations. Now, there could also be like a teacher or a leader in your life who has some kind of rejoice or culmination, something nice to celebrate. If you're having this full moon in the 10th house, this is big comfort felt relating to your career. Again, this could be a big relief for you. There could also be some really big cardinal, emotionally intuitive, your feelings first, big action that you're delivering or experiencing, because the 10th house is the house of praxis, big action, and it's an angular house. So if you have a full moon in this house, there could be something really big, significantly for you going on. And yes, big instinctive actions being taken, and also big familiarity for some of you with the gods is felt. Now, in the 11th house, if you're having the full moon in the 11th, this is blessings for a friend or an ally. It's wishes that are granted for the group or for the network that you might be a part of. It's also this feeling that the gods bless with security, comfort, or a foundation in some sense. Now, finally, if you have this in the 12th house, this could be one of the more difficult transits, but because we have this moon in domicile and coming off that trine to Jupiter and Pisces, I think this is like a big but necessary loss, something that you may well have been mulling over for a while or had a feeling about for a while. And so although it's a loss, it's, again, at the end of the day, good. And for some of you also, you might need to spend lots of time alone to self-care. And also there could be for some hidden wisdom that you find from something bad or ill-gotten. So that's my little brief video for you on the full moon in Cancer coming very soon on Jan 17th. Now, please leave me a comment. Let me know where you have Cancer in your birth chart, where you're having this full moon. And also, don't forget to subscribe, because I've just found out that about 90% of my viewers are not even subscribed. So make sure you subscribe. That would really help me. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.